What's up, y'all? Happy Saturday or happy whatever day you are seeing this video. I was watching this video on TikTok of a woman explaining how women who travel often are very hard to impress. And as a woman who travels by herself quite often, I have to agree with that. Honestly, it is a bit difficult to impress me because I've experienced a lot. But there was a person by the name of Daniel who made this really beautiful comment, if I could read to y'all very quickly. He said, I've read a lot of comments, and it seems many people are more focused on having some kind of clapback instead of understanding the point. Traveling isn't supposed to make you feel better than someone just because they don't impress you. If anything, traveling should teach you humility, perspective, and respect for people who live differently than you do. Humility is a skill that not everyone has mastered. And okay, Daniel, we hear you, boo. Because I'm not gonna lie, before reading Daniel's comment, I was like, yeah, exactly. Because I've been so many places, I've did so many things. Like, babe, you gonna have to come real hard or real correct to get to know me. And that is true. Don't get me wrong. Because the sentiment of like even for men as well, like mothers teaching their sons the basics of cooking so that they can't easily be impressed by your daughter's spaghetti, right? Like this has always been a sentiment. And to a degree, there is truth because we want to have standards for ourselves so that we aren't easily impressed by things. But I feel like in dating, we're missing the plot entirely. And that is the sense that we have to impress one another to actually date one another. I believe we need to be dating more for connection, and the impressiveness will come naturally. When we're dating and we're wanting to show up in these fancy clothes with the best haircut and the best shoes, and everything becomes so superficial because we're just worried about how that other person perceives us based on how we're presenting or masking rather than actually who we are as a people and allowing that to be impressive. I recently met a guy and he wore a lot of like the designer stuff and he's very handsome and all of these things. And I could tell because of how he looked that he thought I would be easily impressed by him. He had a little bit of player energy, not gonna lie. And I've experienced that. My brothers are that. Like I've done been there, done that, and I don't care. But you know what impressed me? He went out of his way to get me a whole spread of plant-based food for a cookout that he had uh for not for me, but I was in town and he did that for me, and that was very sweet and very impressive for me. But even more so when it was time to go, we had a ton of extra food and we really didn't all feel like bringing it home, and he was like, we should find some people and just give it to the homeless. That was impressive to me. Your character is impressive to me. And when he said that, and when I thought about that when I was looking at these comments and reading what Daniel said here on TikTok, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I think we're missing the point. When we travel, we become, oh, this is cricket. There we go. When we travel, and I don't mean vacationing because travel and vacation are two different things. When we travel, we allow ourselves to expand beyond our perceptions and our limiting beliefs, and we allow ourselves to drop our ego for a moment and just be human, experiencing life with other humans. And that means showing up imperfectly and allowing others to do the same, and allowing in candidness, allowing in laughter, allowing in awkwardness and quirkiness, and just the actual qualities of life well lived and well experienced. And that means allowing people, as we allow ourselves to drop the facade, dropping the mask, and actually just being who we are without judgment. In doing that, you do open up this space for being humble and humility and grace for yourself and for others, so that we actually create the formula in which to live a life of what and I was speaking blah blah blah, you get what I'm saying, like to create a life that is conducive for safe spaces, and not safe spaces that we create, but safe being a walking safe space for yourself and for others. And so, Daniel, thank you for that beautiful reminder because that is what dating is about. That is what life is about. That's what friendship and all of the ways in which I want to live my life are about. And I learned that in traveling. And so, yes, I am a woman who wants to be impressed. I want to be taken to nice places and I want to get dressed up and look good for my man as he looks good for me and have delicious conversation. That is also impressive. the delicious conversation, the ways in which you help me expand my mind is impressive. The ways in which you see life differently than me, but allows me to expand and create space for something else outside of me is impressive. Perhaps that's why there's such a disconnect right now in the dating world. We're so busy trying to impress each other with our twerk skills and our cooking skills and the ways in which we make money, and we forgot the plot. And yeah, I believe in order to have a great relationship, you need the three C's: connection, compatibility, and chemistry. Chemistry is what I feel like most people operate in. That's more of the lust of it all. That I like what I see, that spark that you don't even really have to talk about. It's just felt like it's just this physical pulling between the two of you. The connection, I think, is the most rare. It is the most rare because that's when your soul knows the other person's soul and you don't even know why. You just know that there's this part of this other person that's calling to you in a way that you can't even fully verbally articulate, and it's mutual on both sides. And of course, the compatibility of it all. Being compatible with someone is like we like the same food, we have the same way of thinking in life, like we both want children, we don't want children, we want to be married, don't want to, like the way that you fundamentally view and want to experience life is the same. And I think a lot of people are operating in the chemistry and if they're lucky, the compatibility, but are missing the true connection. And I think that's where the wanting to impress the other person comes in at, when it overpowers the other, like the basics of, like, again, do we even have a connection? Are we even compatible? Right. And they're attempting to replace that connection with impression, because especially when it's like something tangible or monetary, because that will keep people in your life, but only for a certain period of time, and there will be something of depth that is missing and lacking. And when you travel, you naturally have that depth. You naturally are able to know when to drop your ego, to be graceful, to extend compassion, to actually hear the other person and listen, and not listen to respond, but actually listen because you care about them as a person and you would like to keep them in your life. One thing that travel has really taught me, and it connects to this current point, is how to actually listen to people because I care about them and want them in my life. Before, I feel like I was listening and like really eager to get my point out because I like to talk, and didn't think so much about how what I might be saying or doing actually affects the relationships in my life. And I had to learn that the hard way sometimes, in deep reflection of, dang, why did this person leave my life? Or wow, I wish I would have said something differently, said it differently, or not said it at all. Developing myself through travel, through experiencing other ways of life, vastly different than my own, for the positive and maybe the not so positive, maybe the negative, has affected how present I am. And it allows me to fully digest how I am coming off to others, my intention in which I want to be felt and heard and seen by the people that I'm communicating with. And so when I think about this video, talking about how women are really difficult to impress in dating, there is so much truth behind it. But the ego and the selfishness in some of the comments makes me wonder how much you've actually learned in traveling, and if you were actually traveling or more so just vacationing, because there's so much more to all of us than what we are on the outside. We're actually all human beings that want to be felt, that want to be loved, that want to be seen for who we really are and not just the superficialness, even though that's how a lot of people tend to operate simply because they don't know any better, or they weren't given the permission to operate as their true self. I just wanted to give you that nugget of love and wisdom today. And I hope you take that with you on your journey of life in your travels. And join me here the next time I post a video. I need to get more consistent, but I love talking to you. Peace and love. Namaste.